Hey, true believers, it's Englentine here. Welcome to the first Never Read a Comic Book channel's YouTube comment section. And basically, this is my way of trying to reconnect with you guys because I did lose live streaming and I love doing that. I'm going to be reading off your comments from certain videos. In just a little bit, we'll have the thumbnails flash by so you can see what videos we're talking about. Now, very basically, it's if I have something to say about what you said, there you go. Easy peasy. That's how you get on. How you don't is by using slurs or just going, you suck, because I already know I suck. Tell me why, but just don't use slurs. Had a guy recently, these are, by the way, the videos I'm going to be talking about the comment sections of. I had a recent comment where a guy just wrote paragraph after paragraph after paragraph and ended it with a lesbian slur. I don't accept it. I'm not going to let it on my page, and it's definitely not going to be talked about here. This used to be an hour cut. I had to cut this down. So, yeah, I can't do everybody's comments, but I will try to we'll try to talk about as many as I can. So, well, without further ado, let's get this party started. And first up, we're going to find out what you guys had to say about the absolute worst Marvel Comics of 2018. Frankly, I love what Jack of All Claws has to say right here, where he says, if I get a symbiote, he has to pay rent. And I'm sorry if I can't read your name right. Andy's Showcase, thank you. Also thought Spider-Verse was dumb. The comic book, not the movie, is what I'm talking about. And let's see. Professor Bill's Comic Book University says that Exiles was one of the best comic books he read all year. Well, you know what? He has a right to be wrong. Cable's Comics has this to say, I despise Sanaa Grace's writing on Iceman. He writes Iceman like he's a limp-wristed 20-something gay guy, and before anybody says anything, I'm gay, and hell, it's definitely one of the most offensive gay comics out there. Not all gay men act like Bobby does. In all honesty, I know a lot of gay people or bisexual or anybody in the community who truly are offended at this comics. Not that just they don't like it, they're offended by it. And it's amazing that we are called homophobic for pointing this out. Vinny D. Prime says, the list would be great if all the books were not in the main thumbnail. It creates suspense. I agree with you. I kind of fumbled the ball on some of those. Oddly enough, I did, as far as the independent comics lists were concerned. I did make up for it on that. You are absolutely right about that, Vinny. HD Earthmark, sorry, he says, all or any, you can't tell me what to do or what not to do. You're not my real dad. That has not yet been proven. Wait for the paperwork. Eric Breen is saying, but Englentine, all Marvel comics are bad. Serious, though, not having read a single Marvel comic in 2018, I'm the least qualified to comment, says Eric Breen. But I will say it wasn't that long ago that coming up with a top 10 worst list for a year at Marvel would have been a difficult, if not impossible, task. Actually, this was difficult, Eric, because I started off with 70. Sax Blue says, don't put Power Rangers in the thumbnail. You're not my real dad. You can't tell me what to do. No, seriously. Actually, I do stuff like that because sometimes I like to troll my viewers, and I was just really trying to count how many people would mention it. So, 1. Next up, we have the comments for the best Marvel comic books of 2018. Why am I not reading The Immortal Hulk, a summer essay by Comics Core? I've got a top 5 list. First off, stopped adding Marvel titles to my pull list this past summer. See, told you it was a summer essay. Don't trust them to maintain quality on their books. Bryson's Iron Fist and Soul's Astonishing X-Men were my last 2 will grab single issues for the purpose of my channel. But I'm mainly trade waiting with Marvel right now. Secondly, there's a quality about the art I've seen that is okay, but I want something more dynamic for a Hulk book. Third, not the biggest fan of the character's runs. The last Hulk book I felt had a quality to follow regularly was Bruce Jones, and that eventually went off the rail. Fourth, Ewing's track record for quality is pretty uneven. I agree. He did some terrible Avengers stuff. Heard his Ultimates was solid overall. Fifth, the blockbotting of people who hold pro-CG opinions like myself. Dude, I'm one of the original CG. Let's see, doesn't exactly endear me towards picking up his stuff in a timely manner. His run may very well... I do agree with you about the Bruce Jones thing. That's fine. And I can understand, like, a lot of writers have, like, oh, they're so good, and then for some reason they just fly off the rail. Mark Waid just amazes me how bad he is these days. As far as the Twitter stuff, no, I can't get behind that. But hey, you do you. You know, I mean, it's your wallet. You got to, you know, use your own conscience for it. But I can't let Twitter affect what I see on the page. It's just it. And Comicsgate is not comics. It doesn't stand for what it used to anymore. It's like a home shopping club anymore. Saiyan Quad 92 says the Mighty Thor, Immortal Hulk, TASM, Ms. Marvel, and Champions are my top 5 Marvel comics of 2018. What was weird in this exchange, though, is Kal-El, who cares? He likes Mighty Thor. I didn't. I thought the Jane Foster one was horrible. I did a video called The Man with Boobs because they didn't change Jane. They didn't write her anyway except for as a man with boobs. But, hey, that means Saiyan spent good money. I spent bad. I mean, if somebody likes it, there's no I don't know. But I can understand the debate and all that because I guess that's what I have here. It's just, okay, maybe I'm up my own ass on this one. You guys tell me, do you go after somebody for what they like or not like? I don't know. It's hard to stand and go, hey, you shouldn't do that when I'm actually inviting people to insult my opinions or do the same thing. So, yeah, I think I'm being hypocritical on this one. Lady Hawk says, Charles Soule's Daredevil was the first comic I picked up off the shelf in probably 16 years. I was certainly not disappointed. I completely agree. That's why it was where it was in my countdown. Number 1. I mean, it's a really good book. Also, let's see, BHK 1978 is saying, I will tell you why I'll never read The Immortal Hulk because Al Ewing has me blocked on Twitter, even though I have not once interacted with me. I know what you're saying, dude. Therefore, he will never have me as a customer. And I completely understand this point of view. I don't agree with it, but I understand it. I was actually surprised to find out Al Ewing has me blocked as well. I just tend to not care because he doesn't know who you are. He doesn't know anything. He knows that he doesn't like Ethan Van Sciver, good reasons. And he blocked everybody that follows Ethan Van Sciver. And that's a dumbass thing to do, but it's nothing personal. But I guess in some ways that actually makes it worse. Next up, the absolute best DC comic books of 2018. Lady Hawk says, your channel is why I started reading Aquaman and the Mira miniseries this year. Thank you, Abnet has been solid. Too bad DeConnick is probably going to destroy it all. Well, so far so, meh. And I hope she at least does meh and doesn't dip below that. She can go great, that would be awesome, but let's hope she never goes below meh. Honestly, I didn't put a lot of lists down, but Drakon, the Slayer Silverclaw says, number 1, Silencer, number 2, Damage, number 3, Terrifics, number 4, Sideways, number 7, Curse of Brimstone. Drakon, you are not going to have a pleasant 2019, because most of these are getting canceled. Oh, and you may have noticed I dropped showing my avatar because I'm just trying to save time as well, because this has already taken me a day to make. Let's see. Doomsday Clock says Edward Brewer should have gotten a mention. I know. The delays make it hard to get into it, but really it is one of DC's best for 2018 so far. Well, you nailed it. The delays have made it hard for me to go, and every time I read it, I enjoy it, but then I absolutely forget about it right afterwards. Madanui says, the thought of Lobo being a father still terrifies me. Vince D agrees, saying, Madanui, same here. And if you guys think you have it bad, just think, Frag Minion is probably homicidal over this. He wouldn't be suicidal. Even if he was suicidal, he would make sure he would take a whole bunch of people with him. I put these two on one because both of them are praising the inclusion of Hawkman being my number 3 pick for Best of DC of 2018. And, of course, SSJF, Future he brings, I'm sorry, I can't read all that off. He brings up I should have done Doomsday Clock, which I just explained. And Chris Gall says that he thought that JLA Dark jumped the shark. Okay. And wonders how I spend so much money on comics. I don't. My brother, myself, my nephews, I'm trying to get my daughters into it because, so they could buy manga and, do reviews here, but they're a little standoffish on that. But no, I am not buying all these myself. They are done by a household of people. And yes, I know I said I was going to stop using the avatar, but I had to add on an extra something anyway, so I decided what the hell. So Derek Salyers says, yeah, I think you'll really like Mr. Miracle. I am on issue number 2 right now, and so far, so pretty decent. Let's see, Kevin Vu replies to it, that I'm pretty positive he's been keeping up on Mr. Miracle. No, I really haven't. The reason being is because my brother used to be on this, and we used to do Marvel versus DC, and he would get some, I would get some. He got Mr. Miracle. I didn't, so I figured, okay, I'm just going to wait for it to be collected, and I'll read it then, because I had missed a few issues at that point. David Tilley says, you missed pre-Bendis Superman. In all honesty, I was going to, but then I figured I was going to include the Adventures of Super Son, so I'm still praising Tomasi there. Kevin Vu, when Englentine says he's an Aquaman fan, words cannot describe how happy I am. I've been a fan of him for so long. Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate you watching. And I'm glad people are recognizing him and what he has to offer. Well, I certainly appreciate that, and I try to have a unique voice on YouTube. And yet, for some reason, I think you're talking about Aquaman, which I think awesome. I'm very glad that his movie is going to be the first $1 billion DCEU. Rock on. Frag Minion says, Lobo's daughter. I still can't say that without tasting bile. I should read some of these comics to wash that taste away. I hope you enjoy them, man. But once again, like I said, Frag Minion, I knew you would be a little homicidal about the fact that they created her. On the plus side, hell yeah, the Terrifics is on my monthly pull list, says Joyce Good Voice. Jojo Good Voice. I so read that wrong. Sorry about that. And Gregor Black is saying, great list based on the ones in common. I had to add a few. Well, I hope you enjoy them. That's one thing I feel whenever I put out a really good, a positive review of something. Is like, God, you know, it's like if you guys pick it up based on my review, I really hope you enjoy it. Next up, the comment section to the worst DC comic books of 2018. Almost this entire page, Derek Salyers, Joey Veloso, and Bill Carson are all talking about how Brian Michael Bendis should have been higher on the list and how bad he's made Superman. This is not just something I'm feeling. Brian Michael Bendis has so destroyed it. I agree with all three of you. SSJ Future Going says, I got so excited when I heard Martian Manhunter was getting a solo series, but then I saw the cover and read the descriptions and never looked at it again. And Bendis deserves #1 for how hard he derailed Superman. So I guess all four of them are saying the same thing. He does suck. I literally don't like him as a person anymore. I've never met him. I'm sure he's a great guy, but no, sorry for what you've done. You are an evil, evil man. Not really. I can't say that. Martian Manhunter has a defender in Stephanie Crespo who says, I don't think Martian Manhunter is as bad as I keep hearing. I love the cover. If anything, that was the main reason I picked it up. The story wasn't bad. It was entertaining. And as for the art, I like unique-looking art. Some of my favorite artists in comics are those who could stand out, and I could tell that what was their art before I looked at the title page. Excuse me. I like that the art is a different style than is usually done. It's wacky, it's memorable, and just a fun book. In comparison to other books that came out this week, like Shazam, that I dropped right away after the first issue, I had a lot more fun reading Martian Manhunter. If anything, Shazam deserves to be on this list instead of Martian Manhunter. Obviously, we disagree, but I am so happy that you had a lot of fun with it. I just didn't. I'm sorry. That art was so horrible to me. It put me off forever. But hey, once again, your money was well spent, and well, so was mine because I got a good video out of it. I just really like what Michael has to say. Michael Adoma. I've read 14 of the 16 of your good book list and 2 of the 15 of your bad list. Good for me. Well, yes, good for you, Michael. Chubby's saying that Bendis is just not right for DC. I knew it was a bad move for him to make. Yes, yeah, it just isn't going well. And Schwelzer says, I like Deathbed. I'm very happy for you. I like the first few issues, but it kind of went downhill after that. Halaz Lair 235 says, Heroes in Crisis is the second coming of Identity Crisis. You are not the first person I've heard say this. I think this is going to be a thing. Cedric Javot says, it's very funny that all the comics criticizing your political point of view or your stupid, racist, misogynistic, fat pig president are, from your point of view, bad comics. And, well, Cedric, if you live in America, if you are an American citizen, he's your president as well. And just to say this, your comment is borderline stupid. Now, I'm not saying you are. I'm just saying your comment is, because in order for it to have any kind of poignancy, you would have to ignore the history of comic books, okay? Now, politics have been in comics forever, okay? And liberal politics have been the majority of what has been in comic books. Now, based on your assessment, that means I should hate every comic book that has ever come that doesn't see eye to eye with me, which is just not true. Chris Claremont wrote the X-Men brilliantly. So my task for you is to think and actually look in within yourself as well to question what is being done wrong now that has so many people angry with the politics that are being injected into comic books today. I'm sorry, dude. I'm just refusing to believe you are as stupid as this comment makes you seem to be. So by all means, please show a little insight and ask yourself those questions. Come back to me later. Speaking of the worst independent comics of 2018. Eric Breen is saying, you took a lot of bullets for the team in 2018 Englentine, and we appreciate it. Thank you, sir. I had fun doing it. Pope Fire, the Starfire Outlaw, says, getting to meet you on a stream was so cool, and getting to meet you on a stream was cool as well. As a matter of fact, I've got an idea where we might actually team up to do a show with a couple of other people. Rocket Surgeon is saying, you had to read all these? I'm sorry. I can't even imagine the horror going through that. I managed to avoid most of them. I only got burned on the Judge Dredd, and that alone was pretty painful. It's kind of worse than that, Rocket Surgeon. I didn't have to read these. I'm the boss of this channel. I wanted to. Max Nystrom says, I swear you just sound like a happy Adam Buckley. Well, thank you for saying I sound happy. Here are the comments for the best independent comic books of 2018. And the first few were just titles that other people were recommending. Spencer Brecken says Leviathan Comics Rebirth is backing Sonic the Hedgehog. Awishton is saying Wrong Earth. And Raimi 2480 is asking what happened to Rags and Punchline. Rags, I read. I thought it was okay. Punchline, never read, so I can't put it on the list. But thank you for recommending it. What up, Sergeant Bats? Saying, I flipped through Fighting American. I thought it looked great, but the shop didn't have all the issues, so I'll be looking for it in TPB. I started reading Red Sonja to fill my Wonder Woman void after dropping the book, and so happy I did. Yeah, Red Sonja kicks all sorts of ass, and so does Fighting American. And it's a funny book as well, so I hope you do enjoy it. Derek Selliers is saying, Power Rangers was my absolute favorite. The new creative team on the book now is okay, but the first run was just great. Now, I just read it through Shattered Grid, but Shattered Grid was pure awesomeness. Eric Breen says, I didn't read many indies, but I do agree with you that Dead Hand, I really like that. You got me curious about Archie 1941, and I will try to find issues that have come out. Even if you are wrong about Riverdale the show, one day you will see the, and you know what? It is in my Netflix queue. I'll check it out. Also, Comic Boom, another channel you should be watching. The guy reads a ton of books and is usually very positive. He also recommends 1941, Archie 1941. Gregor Black says, and my 2018 list gains a few more with the Dead Hand and Dark Arc. Mission accomplished, spreading the word on a few. Also finished Invincible, which ended if anyone hasn't. Yeah, Invincible ended this year. And from everything I've heard, it was good. I did not read it. So I read the last few issues. And it wasn't bad. I'm pretty sure you're going to enjoy the Dead Hand and Dark Arc. Usually I say, yeah, I hope you enjoy it. But you know what? You're going to enjoy that. Mata Nui saying, so would you say you're a meth addict? Sir, I would. And for those of you who didn't see the video, you should. But the number one was a story about a pig named Meth. Check it out. It's awesome. Now for my first bad comic beatdown. It was Heroes in Crisis number 4. I titled it Dead Girls Aren't Sexy. David Castillo says, fire Dan Didio. Seriously, fire him. Put Jim Lee or Jeff Johns as editor-in-chief. He directly said in an interview that he hates Wally West and hates all legacy characters like Donna Troy, Jonathan Kent, and Jamie Reyes, Blue Beetle. Also, he hates milestone characters because there's no Signal or Static Shock, but thank God they acknowledge Ted Kord is not dead. Now, Sean James down here says, oh, by the way, Sean James has a good channel too. Go check him out. The time to fire Didio was back in 2002 when he proposed the rape of Sue Dibney in Identity Crisis, but no one at Warner had the balls to do that back then, hence the over 15 years of failure and the complete collapse of DC. Wow, that's harsh words, Sean. Goth King says, Wally West getting the shaft again? Not even surprised. That's what made me drop Titans. I'm just sick of Wally being treated like trash. Well, the good news, he's dead, so they can't treat him like trash anymore. Sean James saying, with each passing issues of Heroes in Crisis looking more and more like a Jump Shark moment for Rebirth DC, the same way Identity Crisis was Jump Shark moment for Post-Crisis DC. After the Batman debacle and Mr. Miracle disaster, Tom King is showing that he's not ready for prime time. This event is a disaster. Wow, I'm on issue 2 of Mr. Miracle, man. All I heard were good things up until the last issue. Lunatic Reason says, I am interested where the book is going, although it's one of the instances where I think the writer is exploring some kind of deeper message, but I think the problem is it's like a joke that goes on for too long and that build-up might lead to nowhere and isn't funny. So he's building up to something that either will be enlightening or controversial, to which the readers are going to think it was really worth seeing, or favorite characters being dragged through the mud just for that revelation. I also think that there's a tonal problem in the characters, and you might be right about projecting himself upon the heroes. They have always been in crisis, and that has always been the way, but it was always heroic seeing them overcoming them in a positive manner. I actually think the best example is Marvel Spider-Man. I see a trend of overly humanizing him, to which we see them at their worst. I don't know. I personally feel about that stance. I think it's good character development and might lead to good storytelling in the future, but to me, it isn't Heroes in Crisis, but rather Heroes in Depression. And you're right, they've always been in crisis. You know, a lot of people do put real world to superheroes way too much. I mean, YouTube is based on that. Well, actually, this is what would happen, you know, it's that kind of thing. And it looks like Tom King decided to actually do it in a comic book. So during this video, I said that I liked Barbara Gordon as Oracle a lot better, and that she's a better character. Slithering Peanut smacks me in the face with that. First off, saying that Didio hates happy heroes, especially married ones, but this is the important thing. Oracle was a horrible version of Barbara Gordon. Most real cripples, like myself, hate being crippled. And if someone were to offer me the ability to walk again, which Batman did early in her run, I would willingly sell my firstborn to walk properly again. I have a friend who's a former fireman. He's worse off than I am, as he lost his left leg. If someone were able to replace it to full functionality, do you know what he would do? Go back and be a fireman again. Oracle is a lousy character because in a world which has fully functional cybernetics and cloning, being crippled would not be a thing. If they wanted to make a character an information hub, that's not the issue. The issue is using an Elseworlds book that makes no sense in the context of the DC universe as canon. So, there you go. Next up are the comments to Brian Michael Bendis to destroy DC Comics. Mile High Comics closes its doors in the top 5 anime of 2018. Eric Breen says, the reality of 2019, not only is Brian Michael Bendis the most powerful man at DC, he is DC. I can just see Scott Snyder looking like Ned Beatty in Superman, knocking on Bendis' office door and saying, Mr. Luthor, can I do the story in Justice League? And Bendis saying, no, I'm taking over Justice League too. I remember in early 2018, you said you feared that social justice, he's talking to me, was going to kill DC. Turns out it didn't have to. BMB turns out to be much more qualified for the job. When you're right, you're right. So far, everything he has touched has tarnished. Sword Willis says, man, DC went downhill fast ever since Bendis did Superman, although honestly, this is a Dan Didio fault. That guy needs to be replaced. He has been trying to make DC like Marvel, and I don't mean the forced politics, removing or killing legacy characters, Heroes in Crisis, ending the marriage between Superman and Lois. What bothers me most is the changing of Nightwing's name from Dick to Rick. Like, what the grow up, man. Another from Eric Breen commenting on the Mile High story. A quick take on the industry to illustrate the Mile High owner's point. Comics today aren't made with any thought to the comic book collector. 99% of the stories are completely disposable, and with constant relaunches and price increases, there is no incentive to collect. And with so few people collecting, the back issue bins for comics of the last several years have become barren wasteland and a death sentence for retailers. Which is actually something that Phil Boyle brings up in a video we're going to talk about later in this video. where he says that all the jumping on points are jumping off points. Nobody can get invested because it seems like Marvel and DC are not as invested either. Mile High closed because of lack of parking spaces? Yeah, I hear that's the #1 reason why so many stores are closing in this perfectly healthy industry where strongly political books just fly off the shelves. It's the golden age of comics after all. Nary a single book under 9 out of a 10 rating. I'm pretty sure they're talking about, you know, for what their customer needs are. Thal Sinestro says the Legion will need some Bendis diversity, then DC can get to work on Legion movie or streaming series with that diversity. I can see that happening, unfortunately. My second video for First Appearance Friday turned out to be the most popular. It's the first appearance and secret origin of Zatanna. Let's see what you guys had to say. Lucas Calvacante says, I really like the video. Could you please make similar video about Power Girl, first appearance in comics, origin story? And yes, by all means I can. I'll put that down on the list. I'll probably have Patreon and Ko-Fi vote for it, you know, do a little poll to see who they want to do next, that kind of thing. My plan was to do like characters that came out in January, I would do in January. Characters that came out in February would do. But then I thought, well, you know, obviously if there's a movie or there's a TV show, you want to get a boost from it. Like this week, Titans is going to be on Saturday on Netflix. So I'm going to be doing the Titans. And let's see, the following week is Punisher. So Punisher. So I figured I would do that. But afterwards, yes, by all means, I am taking requests and they will be honored. Zatanna was a request, as a matter of fact. Anthony Perdue says, love Zatanna. This appearance was part of a storyline about her searching for her father Zatara, which led to meetings with Batman, Green Lantern, Elongated Man, Adam, and finally Justice League, who helped her reunite with her father, had all those issues and others. Yeah, absolutely, and it was a really good run, too. David Jensen, who says my Irish accent sounds like James Doohan's Scottish accent, thank you very much, is also suggesting I team up with Linkara, which would never happen. He doesn't need me to do that for him, and if I did, he'd probably have me play some sort of character like an alien from the planet Shigambawi. I have no intentions on doing that, but yeah, I would love to actually talk about comic books with him. Pope Size says, oh, I want to hear the Tootsie Roll commercial in a Vietnamese hooker accent. Do it next time. Great job, Englentine. This is a fun idea. Keep up the good work. Okay, well, you are a patron, so... Long time, chewy Tootsie Roll. That's long time. Have I been flagged yet? Mr. Mancera says, so if the I had a hard time saying this when I was recording it. So if the Absorbascon lets you know all knowledge that is known on Earth at the time, why did they not just go to that device when they found their artifacts? Might have saved everyone a bit of time, but then I couldn't make a video out of it, dude. They wouldn't have seen Zatanna. You know, we wouldn't have got that awesome cameo in Smallville. Going to do a quick take. Dave Asanovich is saying the old comics are fun. Yes, sir, they are. Brian Saminsky, I guess for the mask, because I complained about Hawkman's mask. The eyes are way too high on his head. He'd be looking out the nose. I guess the mask, they wanted just to be anatomically correct to what Bird's head would be for some reason. Trainer Red Charizard is saying, please do more of these reviews. Maybe the origin of Wonder Woman next. That would be cool, but that's only actually one page. Her first appearance is one page in All-Star Comics #8. And Alec Perdue is saying, please do more videos like this. I prefer hearing pros talk these sort of things rather than people like Comicstorian and those pop culture channels muddying the waters around these characters' origins and powers and what makes them likable. Wow, thank you very much for saying I'm professional, especially with Comicstorian. He's been doing this for longer than I have, but I'm not a big fan of his either. Unranked Chevron, who, by the way, if you are not subscribed, you should be. This man is brilliant. He's smart, except for when he goes up against me on anything. Well, except for Thunderdome. He won that. God dang it. My own goddamn contest. Anyway, he says, roasting the single most important issue of any series in the history of comics. Also, Celtic. I'm sorry, dude. You're wrong. Okay, first of all, anybody and their brother can roast a bad comic book. It's been done before. I do it every week. So I think it's pretty cool to roast a good comic book for every now and then. And another point you're wrong on, it's not Celtic. It's Celic. Get it right, dude. All right, the comment section for Aquaman DC Underwater Nazi Puncher goes like this. Eric Breen had to take time off from reading The Thunder Agents, which maybe that should be one of the books I do. But he actually requested Hawkman and Spectre. They're on the list, dude. 3 quick takes here. Pal Acosta saying, my father was a famous undersea explorer. The implication here is the Golden Age Aquaman is the son of Captain Nemo. That's a pretty good theory. The Neo-Normie Prophet says, good job. It's set now. Jeff Holiday with an oil slick would stop the Nazi punching. Also, his resilience to bullets could be linked to Aquaman's coming. It is actually linked to his coming from a higher pressure. Minifist is saying, can we see the first appearance of Batman? I think that should go on the list. Frag Minion says, like this vid the first time I saw it, likens it again. That did come from Patreon, by the way. Thank you very much, Frag Minion. Brian Saminsky, excuse me, he doesn't really get much attention nowadays, so could you do Blue Beetle on the list? And Trainer's like, didn't you do this already? Yes. Yes, I did. I did this one, and it only got 34 views, so I removed it. Then Maranya, a friend of the channel, said I hadn't seen it, so I reposted. That's why it's a double. And this is the one we're going to end on. Something Has to Change. Guest column by Phil Boyle of Coliseum of Comics. 2 pretty good guys, friends of the channel. Been around for a while now. Man, Sean James once again has his own channel. He's saying, been saying what Phil wrote since 2011. The industry needs a complete overhaul of its business model. Absolutely. Man of Action saying, good to see Phil still in business. I see he's still handling business like a boss, as he always has been. Eric Breen says, I mentioned this in your video yesterday, and it was great to see you mention something I've been screaming about for years, that being the comic book companies not seeming to care about the comic book collectors. And you're right, constant relaunches is an even better jumping off point for frustrated collectors, as are ridiculously high prices. Agreed with the owner of the shop across the board, and it would be great if the industry listened. I just don't have a lot of faith that anything will ever change. On a completely unrelated note, or point, why do I get the feeling if that had been a Thai hooker, this video would have been 20 minutes longer? Well, point 1, I didn't make the points. They were Phil's. I just commented on what he said. Point 2 about the hooker is... Oh, hold on. Somebody's at the door. Where were we? Oh, okay. JAC Raiders 555 saying Marvel and DC are not going to be okay. Will they? Oh, because I did say they're going to be fine. And he's saying, no, they're not. They'll probably be gone. No, Marvel and DC are going to be fine. Maybe the comic book shops will be gone, but Marvel and DC, they will be fine. Gregor Black states, Phil B is the man. Love that he came up with problems and, more importantly, solutions. Good man, and I can 100% get behind and share with my West Michigan local comic shop friends, because that's what they are, bottom line, is good, hard-working folks. I enjoy running into weekly. The last thing I want to see is them to go under. Great coverage. Well, thank you, sir. Jacqueline Ogre is asking, were you there for the Jim Lee signing? That was last year. I remember that. We could have just barely missed meeting each other. I even brought my comic book that I made. Oh, that would have been really nice. Too bad we did miss each other. Mario Green is saying, man, I love that article. It's educational and honest. Comic fans don't understand what goes into getting the books they love into their hands each month, so they don't show much support or understanding for the intricate moving parts. I truly believe that that if customers were more educated, they would use their wallets to show the industry what really matters, and both publishers and Diamond would be forced to clean up their act in helping to make this industry stronger and long-lasting. I can see how a better understanding from customers would help comic book shops, especially if they understand what Marvel makes comic shops do in order to get the variants. They have to order so many of a title that doesn't sell, so it boosts sales for that particular crap title, for example. Rom the Space Knight is asking, so did she offer you any? Oh, okay, yes. I was explaining that when I worked for Phil Boyle at Coliseum of Comics, it was not in a good part of town, and one day I went to Wendy's, and on my way I was propositioned by a hooker. I guess you want the full story on that. Well, oh, damn, dropped my pen. Hold on. Okay, wait, where were we? Oh, okay, Pope's Eyes is saying, I would love to hear an answer from, like, Marvel or DC on this one, or some anonymous insider if they don't want to give a public answer. Wasn't it Marvel who a couple of weeks ago released like 50 different covers? Yeah, and that's like what I was talking about. The fact that in order to get the variant for this, you have to order 50 more issues of Moon Girl than you ever would even consider. Johnny Lane says, I just realized that for some reason I was unsubscribed from your channel. I was subscribed to the channel, but something nefarious is going on. I agree. Same things happened to Captain Frugal, where not a lot of his followers are actually getting notified. I'm the same way. And I appreciate the ones who keep coming back. But 10,000 subs and yet everything's usually below 1,000 views. Someone is not getting the message that there's videos coming out. Okay, in what way is this guy, says Adrian Roca, standing up to Marvel like your video description says? He only used Marvel twice, but for examples, like when the rebooting, he just said the Amazing Spider-Man thing is an example. What he said was when you reboot your comics, your readers get less invested. And I know Marvel has did a lot with rebooting, but he wasn't talking about Marvel doing it. And for the other one, pricing, he was just saying getting a Marvel comic at Walmart would be a little cheaper than at the comic book store. But again, it seems like this guy is standing up to the comic book industry than Marvel itself. And I read through the whole thing, and not even once did this guy talk S about Marvel. So yeah, you just hate Marvel comics so much that anytime when they do good, you have to find some BS excuse. So F you. One, Adrian, who are you fighting for? Seriously, why do you think Marvel needs you to say this? Okay, really, the tribalism, calm it down a bit. It's okay to be DC, it's okay to be Marvel, whatever you want. No, I don't look for Marvel to do bad, but they just do bad. All, not some, not most, not a few, all of the practices that he is talking about in this is practiced by Marvel. Okay, was my title clickbaity? Abso-freaking-lutely. All of the things that Phil talked about are Marvel business practices. Pay attention, and you're not doing anybody any favors, including yourself. Sorry, man, you're not white knighting Marvel Comics. Big Dad 138 said, you dipped over that hooker story and didn't tell us how she was. Well, she didn't seem to have a cold, so I guess she was fine. Did he make it to Wendy's? Asked Rated B1. Yes. Yes, he did. Number 4 is pertinent to me personally. Huge DC fan, but the New 52 took me completely out of it. I've never fully gotten back into comics since that debacle, says Tony Johnson. That, Tony, is something I can relate to. I dropped out for a while because of that as well. I just did not. And here's what I think is worse than a lot of the Captain Marvel stuff. They changed the characters. They changed the core of the characters. So yes, it is a dropping off point. Zalder Striker asks, was the hooker an 8 or a 2? I need the answer. Man, don't be gross. She looked in her 20s. Aaron Hearsay says, don't leave us hanging, man. Did you bang the hooker or not? And Big Dad 138 saying, I just left the same comment. Inquiring minds want to know. He didn't say he didn't. You're absolutely right. I didn't address that. I mean, it's just probably my old man brain. You know, I just forget to do things certain point, and you just kind of go off on a tangent. Like this one time, I was talking to my brother and I was saying, hey, you know what? Oh, wait, I'm sorry. What were you talking about? Oh, yeah, okay. One multiverse. What about the way writers and artists treat the fans' customers? That should be addressed too. I agree with you, but I'm very glad that Phil kept it about business. We address what the writers and artists are saying. He has to address it on a business standpoint. Rocket Surgeon is saying, I doubt Captain Marvel will even make 200, more like 160, talking about the movie. My guess is between 200 and 300,000. Joe Dirt is saying, what I want to know is what the hooker looked like, and did you take her up on an offer? Not really ugly, but not gorgeous. You know, kind of like a moped. You could have fun riding, but you wouldn't want to tell your friends about it. Fellow Floridian Fred Leggett is saying, we used to hit the Chinese place by the Coliseum strip mall parking lot. That was some good Chinese food. They had really tasty but probably incredibly unhealthy sweet and sour chicken. I wouldn't doubt that. I tried selling some comics to COC back in the 80s. I bet ILC was the guy trying to rob me blind. No, sir. I was in a very small shop with Phil that was right next to a black hair salon near I-4. And finally, Dr. Venkman is saying, 25 freaking minutes? Wow, LOL. Yeah, I know what you're talking about, man. Long videos suck. So there you go, gang. Those were the comments on 2 weeks worth of videos. I really wanted to get those top 10s in there. I probably could have cut them out, make a shorter video, but I had fun What did you think? If this gets views, if y'all like doing this, I will continue it every week. I'm going to try again next week with a shorter video also. But let me know what you think in the comments below. Yes, comment on the comment video. Let me know what you think. Also, if you like this video, please click like, share, get word out about the channel. Hit that subscribe, and most importantly, the notification button. That's what YouTube really pays attention to. Also, I've got a Ko-Fi page and a Patreon page, and PayPal by all means. And if y'all don't mind helping out the channel, please do. I've lost my streaming, and this is going to be some tight months coming up, and could definitely use your help. Yes, I am e-begging my ass off at this point. So if you don't mind helping out the channel, go on over to any of those and drop $1 in the till. Helps keep the lights on, helps keep making videos for you. I'd like to thank everybody who's already done that, and to everyone, all of the true believers, thank you very, very much for watching.